Page 15, In the Ocean Deep. On page 14, they talk about an interval of a seventh. I don't have anything more to say on intervals. I mean, an interval is an interval. As long as you know how to figure it out, you've got it. And the seventh, they sound terrible, but they're used a lot in music. And I look at it as a seventh is one less than an eighth. An eighth is an octave. If I go down one, it's a seventh. It's here or here. I can change either note. So I take an eighth and I shrink it down one key, one step, and it's a seventh. I assume now we're going to get sevenths in this piece, this ocean thing. So let's talk about this ocean thing. At the top of the page, they talk about first and second endings. I'll talk about those a little later. Let's cover the piece first. 3/4 time, so 3 counts in a measure and a quarter note gets a count. Or there's the same as 3 quarter notes in every measure. All right. No sharps or flats in the key signature. We're in the key of C major. Make sure you can do the scale for C major. Do it 1 octave up and down. Just a couple of times a day is fine. Don't spend a lot of time on it. I got all the instructions in the video. You've heard this before. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's take this one hand at a time and make sure we got the fingerings and all. The rhythm's not a problem, bunch of quarter notes and so forth, but you're moving around. At the beginning in the right hand, you have a G chord, a G, a B, and a D. A G chord. So you're in G position? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Isn't this fun? Oh boy. During the rest, then you come down to the C chord. So you learn to recognize in music these chords. And rather than thinking 3 separate notes, you think, oh, it's just a G chord or it's a C chord, and you just play it. And it's so much easier in reading music when you can recognize the chord as one thing and just play it. It comes over time. You'll get it. Take my word for it. You'll get it. Second line, C chord. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. During the rest, you come up here. It's a D. D minor chord, but it's a D chord. And then the third line, back to C chord. Last line, when the right hand plays, it's a C chord. Okay. Left hand gets the melody. It's the fun part. You're here, and the next note is here. So you're kind of in this position, but not for very long. You're going to be moving around here. So just whatever the music tells you to do, that's where your hands are going. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and see that eighth note is on the end of 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and. If that throws you, I don't understand. Take out the tie and play all the notes in the second measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and, because that makes it a little clearer on the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and. You can do that. Then put the tie in. You just hang on to the note rather than playing it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and that's tied. And then on the next measure, they want you to use third finger. Well, I'm on third finger, and they want you to do here. I strongly recommend no. Sometimes you have to use the same finger like that, but I don't recommend it. If there's another way, use the other way. Here, we don't have to do this. They're kind of keeping you in this 5-finger position, and we're getting out of that, so you can forget that. So here, I'm on third position, or third finger, excuse me. And what I want to do is I want to end up on 5th finger on the A, or on the C. So I'm here, so I'm just going to go 2, 3, 5. I can do that. Or I could do 3, 2, and then a 4, 5. There are different ways of getting there. And it's not that one way is right and one way is wrong. It's just different ways of doing it. So choose what's least uncomfortable for you right now, but don't use third finger on the E. Use 2, and then either 3 or 4 on the D. So you're a 5th finger here, and you're in position. Then we go on, second line, B, it's 7th. 2, 3, and they want you to use third finger again. No, let's not do that. So, what I need to do here is I need to be in this position. I want the thumb on the C. Well, that means I do need third finger on that A. Well, if that's the case, I can't be using third finger on the G. I need a different finger. So when I'm playing it in the second measure here, rather than third, I'm going to use fourth. Here, I'm just scrunch up a little bit. You can, if you want, use third finger on the eighth note here, if it's easier for you. But I want fourth finger on the G, and this way my third finger's there. Rest, rest, then going on, B. And then the third line, third measure, 4. F sharp, G sharp. You can get away with this because both of these are black keys. You're coming up here just long enough to get the black keys and then you're coming back out. You're only up here for a little bit. That's fine. And then during the rest, for the last line, you come down to this D. It's a new note. Okay, just memorize it. It's below the ledger line on bass clef is a D. Remember, one below the ledger line on treble clef was a B up here. Well, on bass clef, it's a D. Makes no sense, but that's it. It's okay. Then going on, the last line, second measure, they went thumb, crossover. You don't need to do that. You can play it with second finger. You don't need to cross over. Because you just reach down a little bit. Because the little finger's here, just reach down one key. And then you can use thumb if you want. You see, there are different fingering styles. And the fingering in the book is okay. I don't care for it, but the articulation lets you get away with it. But the fingering style I teach is I want to connect everything I can except for the rest. I want to connect it with the fingers. I'll add in the articulation later. So you can do the fingering in the book and get away with it because of the articulation, but no, I don't like that approach, so I don't teach it. Anyway, put the hands together. What do we have? 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and. You go through and put the hands together. I don't see anything tricky about the rhythm here. Then we'll add in the articulation. So we're going to have staccatos here. I'm on the key and I'm bouncing off here, flexing at the wrist. Try and get the notes down at the same time. I don't, but maybe you can. And the left hand is connected. Lift up. This is how you can get away with your fingering, because you got to lift up. Well, you can move when you lift up. So that's. But I still don't like using the same finger like that. So I'm still recommending the fingering I suggested. Even though you're lifting up, you don't have to scrunch up this way. You just move down a little bit. One key. So put in the phrasing. Second line, last measure, that's a quarter note. So do 1. As I play the first quarter note in the left and the right hand that comes up. Connect. 2, rest, rest. At the bottom, the last, 4 measures or so, you're here. Connect, and then staccato. No staccato there, you hold it down, and the left hand's tied. That's sort of the articulation. Then you can add the dynamics. Moderately loud to start with, mezzo forte, whatever you think moderately loud is. That's the melody. That's the left hand here. Whatever you think, not loud, sort of loud. The right hand, keep them soft. On the third line down, third measure, you have a piano with the matching hairpins. We call this a swell. You're going to go up and then back down. Doesn't tell you how much up to get. I suggest you only go up to about a moderately loud or moderately soft in there. You don't have to get to start soft. Each note's going to get a little louder, right there, and then come back down. You see where they place these hairpins and things in the music, even the dynamics, the M, F, and the P, they're not always exactly where they go. So when you have the matching hairpins, you look in the middle of it to see what note or notes are there, and that's your target. You're going to go up to that bit and then come back down. Well, here, in my opinion, if the G sharp is the highest note, I'm going to go up to that. Here, and then back down. So I'm following the contour of the slope of the notes to get louder. That doesn't always work out real well, but here I think it does very nicely. So I'm going to go up to the G sharp and back down to soft. And I'm going to stay soft. The last line, that's soft. For the first measure. Not the second measure, the first measure. The second measure, you're actually moderately soft. That's very soft. Sort of the dynamics. You need to get to know it well enough you can feel the dynamics. Then the speed, well, it's somewhere in the middle. It's not fast or slow. That's the feel of the These long held notes are going to speed it up a little bit. So whatever it is. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. So that's not moderato, that's a little fast. But it's the feel of it. And you'll feel it different at different times you play it. I think that's wonderful. Don't always play it the same. Then finally they add pedal. Don't know why, you don't need pedal on this at all. But I guess that's down in underwater and they want to feel that a little bit. So in the second line, last two measures, your next last measure, they want you to pedal it. So I'm going to push the pedal down right after I play the note. And lift it up right after I play this note. And they want you to pedal keep the pedal down, and then lift the pedal up, and the last line, first measure on the third beat. So it's 1, 2, 3. On the rest, you lift the pedal up. I guess that's to make it foggy. I prefer it without pedal, but that's what they've shown, so okay. Now let's talk first and second endings. You can have any number of endings. They've just got 2 here, that's fine. Most pieces, if you see nothing, it's got 1 ending and it doesn't say anything. It's not marked as an ending, it's just an ending. You don't need to mark it. But when you have more than 1 ending, now you got to mark them. They're labeled by the number. You see a little 1 on the first one and a 2. There could be more endings. You could have a 3 and a 4, and they can combine endings. I could have 1 and 3 together and maybe 2 and 4 together or some other thing. Take it as it comes. The point is, the first time you play it, you do the first ending, and the second time you play it, you do the second ending. That's the rule. Now, many times, not always, many times on the first ending there will be a repeat sign, but there doesn't have to be. If there's a repeat sign, then you repeat back to wherever. It could be a reverse repeat sign or the beginning. If they're here, we're repeating back to the beginning because there's no reverse repeat sign. Okay, if there were no repeat sign there, then you'd skip whatever endings are there, go beyond them, and keep going. Somewhere later on, it's going to send you back so you can do the other endings. So you don't have to repeat on an ending. That's clear as mud right now, but it'll be clear when we hit a piece or get to a piece, don't hit it, that doesn't have a repeat sign. Then I can show you what I'm talking about. Now I'm just confusing you, but that's what I do. So what it means is we're going to play the first 3 lines and the first measure of the last line. Then we're going to repeat back. We're going to do the first 2 lines again and the first 2 measures of the third line, because then you got to skip the first ending. You played it once. And you skip down to the second line, or the last line, second measure, and you do the second ending and finish it. So you have to figure out the road map of where you're going when because it can be quite confusing. I'd like to play it with you very slowly. Now let's check all the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I'll give us 3 counts, 1 ready, go. We are going to do the repeat and the endings and all that. And I'll pedal it as they're showing. I don't agree with it, but we'll go ahead and pedal it that way. If I were going to play it myself, I would leave out the pedal on the 2nd line and the 3rd line. I might pedal the first ending like they're showing, and I can pedal the end like they're showing, but I wouldn't pedal anything else. However, during this lesson, I'll go ahead and pedal it like the book shows. Let's just play it together very slowly. 1, ready, go. Repeat. Second ending.